everybody, it's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for a BookTuber recommendation video. So this is a little bit different from how it may sound. This is actually a video in which I am going to recommend books to other booktubers. I have been doing this series on my channel for a couple of years now. I only do it sporadically, but I will link the playlist down below so that you can see some of the books that I've recommended previously to some of the booktubers that I've recommended. So today I'm going to be recommending books to 8 different booktubers. I have a couple of different ways that I come up with my list. The first one is that I just pick people at random that I think I have something I could recommend to them. And then the other way is that on each video, please comment if you would like me to recommend a book to you. Now, in my last video, I did say that you don't have to be a booktuber, which I'm going to reiterate. You don't have to be a booktuber, and in fact I kind of lied a little bit just now because I don't have 8 booktubers I'm recommending books to. I have 6 booktubers and 2 people who are subscribed to my channel who commented and requested that I include them in the list. If you don't have a booktube channel or somewhere where I can easily go and have a look at what books you're interested in, what books you talk about, then please do in your comment leave me some ideas, so genres that you like, genres that you don't particularly like, maybe your top 5 favourite books of last year, just so that I can have a bit of a think about what books you might enjoy that you might not have come across, which is my aim, is to kind of suggest books that I think maybe people haven't come across or haven't read at the very least. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. So like I said, I do have 8 different booktubers slash subscribers that I am going to be recommending a book to. Of those 8, 5 were actually people that asked me. That is a bigger ratio of asked than random from me than it has been in the past, so that's pretty exciting. And then I've also chosen 3 other people. For the most part, I try to choose people that I know are vaguely aware of my channel, just because otherwise I kind of feel like it's a bit of a pointless endeavour. But I do also like to challenge myself and recommend a book to someone who I'm pretty sure probably hasn't come across me before or watched any of my videos, just because it's a way to kind of get myself out there and yeah, kind of trying to be a little bit brave, I guess. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. So let's go through now and I will talk to you about the booktubers slash subscribers that I'll be recommending books to, as well as what book I'm recommending. So let's do that. The first person is Brittany Smith, who is...
Hello, it is Editing Mel here. I just wanted to jump on quickly and apologise to Bronwyn, who is actually who I'm speaking to. I just got mixed up because I had Bronwyn and Brittany in the video, but this person is Bronwyn Smith, so sorry about that.
Who is a subscriber of mine. Thank you so much for subscribing, for watching, for getting involved and commenting. It means the absolute world to me. In your comment, you did say that you don't read a lot of sci-fi, but you would like to read a bit more sci-fi. So for that reason, I'm going to recommend An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. This is the first in a duology, which I think is called The Carls. So I think this is kind of a sci-fi light in a way. So it is set on our world, set in New York City and sort of around the world. It talks a lot about social media and different things about sort of the modern age and how to exist in the modern age, but with a little bit of a sci-fi element thrown in. So suddenly, with no warning and seemingly with no apparent purpose, these statues just suddenly appear in various cities around the world. The first person to document this in social media is a young woman whose name I've actually completely forgotten. I think it might be Alex, and she lives in New York. She's a student. She comes across this statue and she documents it. She makes a little bit of a video about it, talks about it, and then because she's the first person to document it and put it up on the internet, she kind of becomes the epicenter of all of the carry-on and palaver that happens as a result of these statues. She of course doesn't know that this is one of a number. She thinks it's just a statue that someone's doing an art exhibition or something like that, but it turns out that maybe there's other things going on, more of a kind of paranormal, extraterrestrial type of nature. I really enjoyed this book. Like I said, I think it's quite light on the sci-fi element. I feel like you can not read a lot of sci-fi and still get a lot out of this one. It's contemporary, like I said, with a bit of sci-fi thrown in. So if you enjoy a kind of contemporary, following the life of someone, her kind of ups and downs, what she's been through, what she's going through, a little bit of romance, but not really the main focus, and like I said, with a little bit of a sci-fi element, I think you'll really enjoy An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. The second person that I'm going to recommend a book to is Amie, and Amie has an Instagram which is Ducky Reads, so I recommend that you go and check her out on Instagram. She's a lovely person who has been following me and joining me on sprints and all sorts of things like that for quite a while, so thank you so much, Amie. It's always a pleasure to chat with you and to see your comments on my videos, so yeah, thank you so much. I've decided that the book that I'm going to recommend to Amie is Sugar by Carly Nugent. This is a young adult contemporary that is following a young woman called Persephone. I believe she's about 16 or so. She lives in Australia. It's a book by an Australian author. I know that Amie is Australian. As far as I'm aware, Amie, you didn't read this book, so I'm recommending it because I do think you'd really enjoy it. Persephone has been recently, or I say recently, within the last sort of year of the book opening, has been diagnosed with diabetes. So the book is very much about her and her life and trying to kind of figure out what's going on in her life, try to live her life, but also talking a lot about diabetes and what it's like to have diabetes and what it means to have diabetes. And yeah, I found it really interesting and really well written. I really enjoyed the character of Persephone. There's a lot going on for her, having a condition that you have to live with and manage, and how that can affect your mental health, and learning to kind of manage that, especially as a teenager. I just thought it was really interesting. It seemed like the kind of thing that you would really get a lot out of and really enjoy, so that is why I'm suggesting that book to you. So I hope you enjoy it. From here on in, the people that I'm recommending books to are BookTubers. All of their BookTube channels will be linked in the description below, so I recommend that you go and check out their channels. I think they're fantastic. I love all of these BookTubers, and I definitely think that you should all go and check them out because they are amazing people and fantastic content creators. Thank you to Abby, Brittany and Sierra for commenting on my most recent video that I put up and requesting that I recommend a book to you. Yeah, those are the first three BookTubers. There are some other people that I want to talk about as well. So the first of these is Abby from Abby of Pelennor. The book that I'm recommending to you, Abby, is The Binding by Bridget Collins. This is a book that I read probably about 3 years ago now, maybe even 4 years ago, and really enjoyed it. It is a fantasy. It's quite twisty and turny. There's a lot going on. We follow the main character, who I can't remember his name. We follow the main character who lives in a fantasy world where books are banned. Books are very much something that are feared and shied away from, because books used to be something that you could tell a memory to a bookbinder and they would bind the memory, take the memory from your mind and bind it in the book. So people would do this in order to erase things that they were ashamed of, or that they didn't want to remember for whatever reason, and they would bind them into these books. And so books are kind of something that you're not really supposed to read because it's a secret. It's very much, yeah, secret dealings, and very much kind of the sort of thing that is frowned upon, and, you know, it's in hiding. So this is, like I said, quite a twisty turny tale. You're not really sure what kind of timeline you're following it to begin with, and you're not really sure 100% what's entirely happening, but it turns out that this boy, this young man, has had a past that for various reasons he's chosen not to remember. And there is a male-male romance in here. It is very sad, it's very moving. I thought it was beautifully well written, and I think that you would really enjoy it. I know you really enjoyed Babel at the end of last year. I know you really enjoy sort of epic fantasy, but I know you also enjoy fantasy that kind of, it can be quite sort of twisty and turny and isn't necessarily all about plot so much as characterization and storytelling, and I think that The Binding is a book that does that really, really well. So I do think that you would really enjoy this book. So the book that I'm suggesting for you, Amie, is The Binding by Bridget Collins. The next booktuber that I'm going to be recommending a book for is Brittany from Brittany Loves Reading. Brittany commented on my most recent video that I put up before this one and asked if I would recommend a book to her. I've decided to go ahead and recommend a crime sort of spy book to you, Brittany, because I know that you really, really enjoy mysteries and thrillers, and so for this reason I'm going to recommend The Killing Code by Amie. Amie is also an Australian author, and she writes young adult and adult murder mystery type books. I absolutely loved The Killing Code. I thought it was incredibly well written. It was one of my favourite books of last year, and I do think that you will really, really enjoy it. So this book is about code breakers in the Second World War. It is based in America, and it's about a young woman who is a kind of servant companion to a teenage girl who is dying. She is also a teenager when this is going on, and when her friend companion dies, she kind of takes on that person's persona. But then she ends up in this persona, she ends up working for the government as a code breaker in the United States, and she also then comes across a murder. While she is a code breaker, in amongst the code breakers there has been a murder. A black woman comes to see her after this murder happens and says, yeah, so I think this is the second in a series of murders that have happened, or maybe even not a second, maybe there's been others, but my friend who was black, it won't be followed up properly by the police, so I think we should do something about this. And they decide to use their code breaking skills to solve a crime. And I thought it was fantastic. You can tell that Amie has done a lot of research into the topic, into the different things that she touches upon, including the history and situation for Black Americans. Amie is a white Australian woman, so obviously take it with a grain of salt, but I do think she has done a lot of research and tried to make sure that it was as authentic as she could. But yeah, I recommend to you, Brittany, The Killing Code by Amie. Next up is Sierra from Sierra the Book Addict, and for you, Sierra, I'm going to be recommending another series of books by Amie, specifically the first book in the trilogy, but the trilogy in general if you enjoy the first one. So the first book is Every Breath, and this is a young adult contemporary murder mystery that Amie has written. It's the first in a trilogy, like I said. This is actually a Sherlock Holmes retelling. We follow Rachel Watts and James Moriarty. They are the kind of Holmes and Watson characters, but it's set in Australia, and yeah, it's young adult. It is a murder mystery. I was watching a recent video of yours where you were talking about another young adult Sherlock Holmes retelling that I can't remember what it's called, but that you really, really enjoyed, thought was fantastic. And it immediately made me think of the Every series by Amie and how much I enjoyed the series. I thought it was incredibly well written, really interesting and fun, and it made me think that hopefully you will really, really enjoy the series as well. So that is my recommendation for you, Sierra. So the next three booktubers are booktubers who have not asked me to recommend books for, but that I have decided that I would like to give a shot to recommending books to. The first person is Rye from Rye's Reading Corner. For you, Rye, I am going to recommend The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. Kate Morton is another Australian author. However, a lot of the books that she writes are not set in Australia, and this one is set in the United Kingdom. I don't entirely know what genre this book falls into, or any of Kate Morton's books fall into. They are the kind of sweeping generational saga type books that I personally really like, and from some of the books that I've seen you put on favourites lists, books like The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna and different books like that, I'm pretty sure that you will really enjoy Kate Morton's writing as well. So it's been a while since I read The Clockmaker's Daughter. I don't remember exactly what the plot was about, but It is a book where we follow a youngish woman in her mid-20s, I think, and she is uncovering some secrets about her past and about her father and what his life was kind of really like as opposed to what she thought it was like. So it's one of those things where there are secrets within a family, they go back generations and they affect what's happening to the current, and we sort of switch backwards and forwards between the various different timelines and different people, and follow the various different reasons why they have chosen to keep certain things secret and how that has affected both them and the people that, you know, their children and grandchildren, etc. Like I said, I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was very well written and really interesting. I really enjoyed the characters, and I just thought that she did the weaving of all of the different components and different characters and different timelines and times and generations really well. I have not read any Kristen Hanna yet myself, but from everything that I've heard from yourself and different people that have really enjoyed some of her books, they do sound like they would be quite comparable, and that is the reason that I have chosen to recommend to you Rye, The Clockmaker's Daughter by Kate Morton. Next up, I'm going to recommend a book for Cara from Wild Book Garden. And the book that I'm recommending for you, Cara, is The Hotel Witch by Jessica Miller. This is a middle grade fantasy book that I read on NetGalley in January. I am pretty sure that it should be out for general sale by now. Certainly it is in Australia, although it is published by an Australian indie publishing house, so I'm not 100% sure. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was really fun and really well written. We follow a young girl, I think she's around sort of 12-ish, who is an apprentice hotel witch, and her grandmother is the hotel witch. It is a kind of magical version of Europe. The country that she and her grandmother live in this hotel, is an invented country, but it is very definitely on the kind of Riviera, Mediterranean area of Europe. I thought that, like I said, it was really well written. The character of the hotel witch, Sybil, was very well written. You really got a sense that she was a young girl and that she was just absolutely trying her best and trying to become the best hotel witch that she could. She definitely felt authentic. She felt like an 11-year-old girl, and I thought that was incredibly well done. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I just found it really fun, and I thought that you would really love this book. I know that you absolutely love reading middle grade and you think that it's really important to read middle grade even as adults, and that you have enjoyed a lot of different middle grades, particularly fantasy middle grades, so I highly recommend this book, The Hotel Witch by Jessica Miller. And the final booktuber that I'm going to recommend a book to is Mara from Books Like Woe. I feel like I've been thinking about including Mara in one of these videos for quite a while, but I've been really daunted to do so because Mara is an incredibly voracious and omnivorous, to use her word, reader, and I really felt like there was probably not going to be a book that she would potentially enjoy that she wouldn't have read before. I do like, if possible, to try and come up with books that the people maybe haven't even heard of before, let alone read before, and I thought that not only would I probably not come up with a book that Mara had not read before, I probably wouldn't be able to come up with a book that she had never heard of. But I have been thinking about it recently, and I've realised that I have read some absolutely fantastic books written by Indigenous Australian authors that are highly unlikely to be particularly well publicised or discussed in an American setting. So the book that I've chosen to recommend to you, Mara, is Terra Nullius by Claire G. Coleman. This book absolutely blew my mind when I was reading it. I absolutely loved it. It was not at all what I expected, and in a way that was just fantastic. It is a sci-fi, but you won't figure out what's actually going on and what the sci-fi thing is until the middle of the book. We read this as part of my book club last year, and all of the people absolutely loved it, thought it was absolutely fantastic. Claire G. Coleman is an Indigenous Australian author, and this book very much talks about colonialism, about the way that Australia was invaded and the way that Indigenous people were treated, and some of the policies that the Australian government, even up until unfortunately recently, I mean within the last sort of 50 years, have had in place in order to control and suppress Indigenous people. So it's a lot, it's quite hard hitting, but it's done incredibly well.
Hello, it is Editing Mel again. My camera cut out and I hadn't realised early enough, so that's why that kind of ended very quickly. But essentially, I think it's really interesting, really well written. I had a great time with it. It was very hard hitting, but I think really interesting and very thought-provoking. And I think that, Mara, you would really, really enjoy it. So that is why I'm recommending Terra Nullius by Claire J. Coleman to you.
So those are all of the books and all of the absolutely amazing booktubers and a couple of amazing subscribers that I'm recommending books for today. Please comment below if you would like me to recommend a book to you in a future video. Like I said, you do not need to have a BookTube channel, but if you don't, could you link me to a TikTok or an Instagram or somewhere where you talk about books, particularly if it has things about favourite books and that sort of thing. Or if you don't have any of those things, please do give me some information about genres that you really enjoy and maybe top 5 favourite books of last year or all time or something like that, just to give me some idea of what I can think about. But yeah, I hope that all of the people that I have recommended books to today like the sound of the recommendations that I have given them. I'd love to hear if you go ahead and read the book and what you think of it. If you'd like to leave me a comment about anything else that happened in this video, please do so down below. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me a smiley face emoji, because I really enjoy recommending books to people and, you know, puts a smile on my face. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.